Sparking Change with Gigi, a show that aims to make the world a better place by bringing together authentic minds. This show encourages each of us to be the change we wish to see in the world. Get ready to be inspired and join us on this journey to create a brighter future for all.
Welcome everyone to Sparking Change with Gigi. I'm your host, Giovanna Tartarone, and this show is brought to you by World Energy Healers. Visit us at weqhsummit.com for information about this wonderful event we're having on November 1st. I hope you can join us. And today we're going to be talking about Return to Love, Healing the World One Heart at a Time. And my special guest, Dr. Debra Castaldo, is a national recognized relationship expert, couples and family therapist, and an author who has been featured as an expert on numerous programs on ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN, and Fox networks. She's a regular contributor and guest co-host of Living Abundantly with Sarah V., a national syndicate show on CBS affiliates and on YouTube. Dr. Debra Castaldo is the author of the new book, Return to Love Playbook. I love that. She is also the host of the Love Notes with Dr. Deb podcast on 95.3 WCHE. She holds a PhD from New York University and an MS from Columbia University. She maintains a private practice in couples, family, and individual psychotherapy in New York City tri-state area. Welcome, Dr. Deb. I'm so excited
Hi,
to be
Giovanna.
here.
It's so great to meet you finally.
I know we've been talking on the phone, and this day was going to come because we are spreading the same message, right? We have the same message to spread, is what I really meant.
We absolutely do.
From the heart. And if you can please tell us a little bit about yourself so that the audience get to know you a little bit better, and why are you on this mission to help us, heal the world? Because that's really what we're here both to do.
Well, it's interesting how my mission became to be. I started out as a social worker back in 1978, a baby bachelor's level social worker, and began working in child abuse and neglect as a protective service worker and daycare worker, and worked quite a few years in that area, foster care and adoption, abuse and neglect, and then was studying for my master's degree at Columbia and started to get into family therapy as well. And it began to dawn on me that the root of the problem was not with the children. The root of the problem was the blueprint they were getting in homes where there was trauma, where there was abuse and neglect. And then I trained in family therapy at Ackerman Institute in New York and practiced that for many years, and then really realized that the heart of the matter really was with the couple, with the parents, and with the multi-generations of love patterns, what I call the multi-generational curses of dysfunctional and destructive love. And that's how I really got to this mission of now a number of years now. I've been primarily focusing on couples and the return to love, because what I find is many, if not most, couples and families do not have the skills to love. And I see so much neglect and destructiveness and anger and fighting and conflict and just very negative input. And where people let their standards down, they're not loving anymore. They're after a few years. So that's how I got to be where I am. And then one thing led to another, and TV and radio started to find me. And at a certain point, I thought, you know what? I've been in this 45 years. I have to put what I know in a book. And so the book, The Return to Love Playbook, has pretty much everything I do in couples therapy. And it's about helping people to return to the original state of love, which I believe and we know we are seeking from the day we are born.
Yes. But, I also, through my own studies, realized that, and it's the truth, we are love. We came into this world smiling, happy,
Mhm.
unstoppable, right? I remember my kids, if I look at my kids, it's like, get off the couch. No, they want to have fun.
Yes,
They're always laughing. If you look at any baby, they make you laugh. So
yes,
you're absolutely right. We are, our natural state is love.
yes.
And when we separate from that, and how do we separate from that? Like, I mean, your work centers about returning back to love,
Mhm.
because we can agree that love is the foundation of healing.
Oh, absolutely. And there's
So,
also so much trauma in the world, which I am going to speak about at the summit. uh,
yes,
that when, we're originally wanting to come back to love from the moment we're born, but then as we're exposed to the world, and I actually just read that it's believed that 70% of children are growing up within trauma in their household. And it's not just big traumas, not just war and gun shootings that we hear
right.
in the news, all the horrible stuff in the news, but it's also the micro traumas in the home and in the family of a parent who never talked to you, or a parent who was never there, or you were abandoned, or you were abused in some way, or felt invisible. All of those micro traumas are then also what we're taking in that separate us from that original state of being loved and feeling loved.
Absolutely. And love is a frequency, right? We're having this event, and it's called World Energy
Yeah.
Healers. Love is a frequency, and it's an energetic frequency. And we know that when we're in a state of love, we are feeling great. But when we are in a state of fear, worry, and doubt, that
Mhm.
really affects us physically, emotionally,
Oh my
and
God,
spiritually, because we're becoming disconnected from our original state of being.
it absolutely does. And that mind body connection
Oh
is,
boy,
you know,
yeah.
so intense. And I know because I'll be transparent, I was in a very young marriage. I got married at age 22 to my first boyfriend, and it was not the right choice for me, which I didn't
Mhm.
know at the time. And I didn't know what I was looking for. I didn't know my own qualities. I wasn't understanding what qualities made a good relationship. And do you know that I became physically ill with very mysterious symptoms that I had a lot of medical tests and they couldn't find anything wrong. I was getting numbness in my extremities. I was getting dizziness and confusion. I had gastrointestinal issues. And I remember at one point, my doctor called me aside privately and said, "None of your tests are coming back with anything, and tell me what's going on in your marriage." And that was the awakening of, I knew instinctively in my gut that I was not happy, I was not loved, and it was not the right relationship story, love
Mhm.
story for me. But your body will tell you. There's some
Yes,
wonderful books by the trauma experts, Bessel van der Kolk and Dr. Gabor Mate. Two books I would recommend is The Body Keeps the Score,
absolutely. I have that.
that one, and then The Body Says No, by Gabor Mate, who talk about, and they really believe the root of illness, most of it, 85 to 90% of it, is psychologically driven by trauma. So
Yes,
it's our separation from love that I think is at the heart of this, and that's why I do what I do, you know,
right.
to help
And
people get back into that natural state of loving.
yes, and we don't realize it, but that actually emanates out, right? So if we're not feeling in the state of love, and we're angry, and we're holding resentment and fear, when someone crosses your path, you're emanating that energy out to them. So now it's a trickle effect, right? It's just like a
Mhm.
ripple effect, is what I meant, from affecting the world around us. And that's why even this summit, it's about, we need to be the change. We need to change in order for our world to change. It's not about the world changing and then we change,
Right.
right? It's
Right.
creating that change. And you had to go through a transformational change to
Absolutely.
even accept, acknowledge that yes, you were in a relationship that was not working.
Yes. Yes.
right? And that change is not easy. I mean, we know that. But if you want to be happy in life, you have to take ownership
Mhm.
of yourself. And, I'm sure you had to do that.
Yes, absolutely. And it's a difficult decision. I know I just was on a show and I was asked about what does it take to love courageously in the face of
Right,
obstacles. And I find in my couples therapy practice that almost all of the people that come in are very, very stuck in misery and suffering. And a lot of times they've been in it for decades and they don't have the courage to either fix it, work on it, commit to it, or to say, this is wrong for me. I need to move on to a better choice. So that's what I do is we say, okay, if you're here to fix it, you think you want to save it, then let's really commit to that. And I tell them, I don't know what the outcome's going to be, but if your goal is to create a better marriage, better relationship, that's what I'm here to help you do. And I also don't believe people should suffer
right,
because when you stay in situations that you know you shouldn't be in and your body is telling you what the price is, and there's depression and despair and anxiety and sometimes substance abuse
right,
and fear, you're paying a price for that. So I don't believe that people should suffer
right,
in happy relationships. I think we all need to strive to return to love, whether that's with yourself or something else you want to explore and find, awaken to
right.
get back into that natural state of the heart
And
and
yeah, and I just love the fact you just said the magic word to me is that it starts with us loving ourselves,
Mhm.
right? Because when we don't love ourselves, how could we give something we don't have?
Yes,
How could we do that? But we're not taught to love ourselves. We're taught that everybody comes before us
yes,
until you realize, but wait a minute, even in the airport, they tell you take the mask, put it on yourself
mhm,
before you put it
mhm,
on to others, right? Because can't help anyone if
yes,
you can't have air to breathe and use the mask,
yeah,
right? To stay strong and help others. So, how does someone start this journey of to love themselves
mhm,
because they're conditioned from many generations that the children comes first, the husband comes first, the people around them come, family comes first,
mhm,
until, and I promise you I am the evidence of this, until I realized my cancer journey helped me to realize, but wait a minute,
mhm,
I wasn't loving myself because I wasn't treating myself well and
yeah,
I got sick. So now, how can I even give love,
mhm,
right? We don't have to wait until that suffering moment, as
yeah,
you said. So,
yes,
how does someone start this journey of self love? Because that is really at the crust where everything begins.
yeah, I think, first to do that healing, it's funny you mentioned the oxygen mask because when I speak
Mhm.
at the summit, I'll give a little tip away already. One of my topics in the outline is called oxygen. And
Mm,
I think it is first, there has to be a lot of healing from these original traumas of why people got to a place of not loving themselves, allowing themselves to be mistreated, all these traumas that can build up, and then you're in a relationship and you're both harming each other. So I think it has to start with looking within.
yes.
A lot of people that come to therapy, they're looking out. Their partner does everything wrong, or it was their family's fault, or they're looking outside of themselves. And one thing I work on with everybody is taking accountability for your own self care. How are you showing yourself love? How are you setting boundaries with people or experiences that are not good for you? And then we do some cognitive behavioral work in terms of like new alternative thoughts and alternative ideas and beliefs and
Mhm.
stories that you have going around in there, because
Yes.
that really shapes, as you well know, Giovanna, whatever you're thinking and believing and the stories you're telling yourself, you're going to manifest that in your life and you're going to be repeating that. So we really have to get down to what I call the core of
Yes.
what are these deep traumas and beliefs that we all have. We all have some version of it. And after
Absolutely.
doing this for so many years, I believe, you can't really totally rid yourself of your history, but you can make it much smaller. You can make it very, very tiny and replace it with these more productive, positive beliefs, stories, things you tell yourself, affirmations, and treating yourself with love, not letting yourself be harmed by anyone or anything else. So it is an internal job of introspection that sometimes we have to go into the trauma to release it and then come out with new beliefs and new stories to guide us.
Yeah, we really have to, look at the mirror, right? Because it all starts, like, every time I say that, I think of Michael Jackson singing that song,
I do too.
right? Because it really, really starts with us. And like you said, to take, responsibility for the decisions you made, right? And it doesn't mean that, the decisions need to crucify you, right? They're just learning experiences, to self-sabotage, because that's what we do. We go, why did we do that? Why, I should have known better. But the truth of the matter is we're all here to have these experiences and make decisions so that we know what's good and what's not good, right? We're presented with opportunities all the time. Never look at it to criticize yourself, because that's where the love dwindles, right?
Oh, the self. And we internalize whatever way we were parented from 0 to 5. That gets completely internalized. And almost every day in therapy, I hear people say, my parent always shamed me, or I was always told I wasn't good enough. And if I got 9 A's, it would be said, well, what's wrong with you? You didn't get the 10th A. Or even worse than that, children growing up and being told you're fat or you're ugly or you're stupid, or, that gets so into our gut.
Yes.
The work now as an adult is getting into what I call wise, mature adult that can be self-loving and a good partner, and really detach from those, destructive, critical, sometimes abusive messages, and at least minimize them. When you were speaking just a moment ago about, criticizing ourselves, I like to say to people, be kind and tender to yourself. And remember that decisions you made, let's say when you were 20, 30, 40, 50, and if you're older now, you're not, I hope you're not that same person now. I mean, I hope we grow from decade to decade, year to year. So don't beat yourself up for decisions you made 10, 20, 30 years ago, because we're not fully mature and fully formed in our own values. And I always think of one of my favorite quotes from Nietzsche, his famous short quote, which is human, all too human. And when I hear people are starting to be really critical of themselves, I say to them, remember, everything you did up until now was just human. And you probably did the best you could. And even if your parents didn't do well, they probably did the best they could with whatever their background was. It is a process of letting go of the past. And I always say the present and the future don't have to come from the same result of the past. We can move forward differently with growth.
Right. And, I love that, because sometimes we do hold on to the past. And, I've also learned that when we're not feeling good about ourselves, we're either thinking of the past or we're anxious about the future, but never actually living in the present moment. And that's all we have. And you're like, well, how is that possible? Because we can't do anything about the past.
Exactly.
And there's so much unknown about the future that if we're there or there and not here,
Yeah.
then we are fighting against ourselves because
Mhm.
we're not enjoying what we have in front of us. I mean,
Absolutely. I
this is the part that we need to understand, that if you're struggling in your mind with something, you're not in the present moment, right?
Yes, yes. A colleague of mine, Sarah V, has a wonderful phrase. She says, "Don't be a when and then-er," which means
Yeah.
don't be when this happens, then I'll be happy. When that happens, when I meet the perfect person, when I'm wealthy, when I have the house I want, when I do this or achieve that, then I'll be happy. No, it doesn't work that way. We have to be
Yeah.
in the moment. I think was it Wayne Dyer who
Oh my
gave,
God, I just had him in my mind. I'm about to say,
yeah.
don't your music still in you. Is that what you're thinking of?
No, I think he said the three guidelines that I love, which is in the moment, no fear, and childlike joy. And I know what you're thinking of too is don't die with your music still in you.
Yes, yes.
Become, and then I also think of Joseph Campbell. One of my favorite sayings is, "You must be what you can be." I love that
Yeah.
one too.
And
And
there's that other book, who did As a Man Thinketh, right? It's in
yeah,
your heart.
most
So
definitely. Mhm.
everything starts with the mind. Everything starts with the thought.
Oh, it does. And yet, I say to people, be kind to yourself because I really do believe after 45 years of doing this, you can't really get rid of that original blueprint. It's in our gut. It's internalized in our core. Now I
Yes.
know I grew up. I had a father who was present physically and a hard worker and all of that, but never spoke to me and didn't know how to have a conversation, a loving conversation with me. So I grew up with this story about myself of I'm invisible. And I spent a lot
Mhm.
of time alone as a child. And guess what I have to be careful of now? The same thing. It still is
Right.
kind of in my gut of, being sensitive about feeling invisible if someone is, not responding or not giving.
Right.
But yeah, it's a process that you have to be patient with, and yet I also say it's so easy to love. And people don't understand how easy it is. There's so many expectations and, the conflict and the fighting and oh my goodness, people make it so much harder for themselves. Um,
Right.
a little humor here. I just heard I can't remember if it was Kevin Hart or which comedian it was. His whole routine was on a good relationship, and he starts out by saying, "You're making it too hard on yourselves. A good relationship is you should have sex and travel." He said that's all you should be doing. He said, "You knew before you married them, you knew right away that he wasn't going to do the dishes, and you knew right away that she couldn't cook. So why do you keep fighting for that for 30 years?"
Or how about the toilet paper being faced the wrong way? I mean, like, really, right?
Or
Like
where
all the
people put their shoes, or oh my gosh, I just had one the other day. One is very, very neat, and the other one is just kind of like throw things in the closet and shut the door. And oh my goodness, World War III over that issue. And I said, "Do you really want to do that? How important is that in the whole scheme of things? Are you going to remember that in 5 days or 5 years, or when your baby grows up? Do you think they're going to remember that? Yes, we all need a little neatness, but we have to think of what are the important things, the important values, and I think let go of
Right.
some of these inconsequential things that
Yes.
separate us from each other."
And letting go really means, not being in charge, right? Like, think about when we say letting go,
Mhm.
because at the end, it's two different personalities. One wants to be stronger than the other. And,
Mhm.
I'll call it the ego. It's the
Yes.
ego getting in the way of
Mhm.
the love that's underneath it all. It all
Mhm.
started with love, otherwise you wouldn't be married, right? And so then the ego wants to now become more powerful than the love. And truly, that is what separates every relationship, right? Even the relationship with ourselves. We got the monkey mind that goes, who do you think you are? Like, I'm doing this summit. You know what? I've never done a summit before, but I do know this in my heart that we do have to return back to love. And that's why I'm doing this summit. The summit is not about Giovanna Tartavone. It's not about Dr. Deb and even our keynote speaker, Neil Donald Walsh. It's not about us. It's about all of us returning back to love in order for our world to get better. We need peace in this world. And love brings peace. Hate brings fear, sickness. And that's, that's one of the main reasons why we're doing this, is to teach people, like, we understand what you went through, but if you are ready to let go of, I need to do it this way, and allow people to come in and help you, because it's not easy when we say, let's now look inside, what's going on inside. We're trained to just throw it under the rug, say, we're okay, pick yourself up, keep going. And you and I can both vouch that that's not how it works.
That's not how trauma gets healed,
Correct.
And, I also like the work of Dr. Stephen Gilligan, and I was thinking about it, and I will quote him in the summit speech. I love his perspective of, I think so many people right now are so despairing and so hating what's going on, and rightfully so, even with the peace agreement that just happened the other day. And now I'm hearing that a lot of the hostages were not released, only a small percentage of them. And, they're going back to the original invasion where people were killed, and, just seeing the killing and people grieving. And, it's a horrible, horrible time. And yet this is when the time is for a lot of growth can occur. That despair and disruption is really when new identities, new love, and generating change really begins. I know it's a hard concept, but it's almost like we don't know what the light and love is if we don't see the darkness. And, there is a dark side to love. What causes a lot of the violence in the world, whether it's in marriage relationships or on a bigger level, there's all kinds of things that result from the lack of love and the removal of love. I feel everything gets down to that.
Of course. And you know what? To think that we are watching this and it doesn't affect us is a lie, because, we can see this, and, you can watch something like that happen with people being killed. I mean, 9/11, for goodness sakes, we didn't have to be there, but we know exactly where we were when that happened, and how many people came from around the world to help out. If that doesn't, create some kind of connection in our heart, I don't know what will, right? Because we all came from a creator, right? I call it God, Allah, universe, Mother Earth. Doesn't matter what you call it, but we came from a creator. And everything that's being created that's not love is not from the creator, right? It's separate from the creator. So we are coming from a place where that love is always within us.
Yes.
And so it does hurt us when we see other people suffering. And we can stand back and say, well, that's not me, which is silly to say that, because one day it could be you, your sister, your brother, your family. It could be somebody you love.
Yes.
Or you can say, I'm not going to sit back. I'm not going to sit back and watch this. I am going to do something about it. And it does take guts, because I tell you, and courage, because I never saw my life going in this direction. This is not what was on my resume. I did not plan for this, right? In fact, my resume doesn't even apply anymore to what I'm doing today.
Right? Yeah.
because I truly care. And I know that when we get into this work, we understand we're all connected.
Absolutely.
We're all connected.
Yeah, and I know our speaker is going to speak on that, Neil Donald Walsh, and
Yes.
I am going to also mention that as well. About how do we flip this script that's going on now, and is there any hope? Are we stuck in despair, and is there no solution at all, or where would we be able to possibly begin? And I'm going to talk about do you want me to give you a few little hints?
Yeah, I was just actually going to say, what are some, let's explore this,
I'll
the
give
power
a
of
little.
within.
Yeah, I'm going to give you. So I'm going to talk about the despair and the separation from love, and then I'm going to talk about this is our dilemma, this is our hurdle, and then I'm going to give a 10-step plan, blueprint for people to go through the process of creating more love, getting more reconnected. And I'm going to talk about flipping the script from a distance. I don't want to tell you what each one means.
Yeah, no, let's not say it, because we want people to come and join us.
Maybe this will spark a little interest. I won't tell you too much. The third one is rose-colored glasses. The fourth one is oxygen. Fifth topic is aspects of love. Sixth is my favorite, reignite the romantic. So you might hear a lot from me on that and why it's important. Number 7 is called breaking the bad. Number 8 is get the moai mindset. Do you know about the moai?
No.
Japanese culture, where babies are designated into groups that are supposed to follow and be in with them their whole life. It's a support group from babyhood on, and social, financial, spiritual, and that is their group. So I relate that to, first of all, we have to take care of ourselves. Then our romantic partnerships, intimacy comes next. Then our family relationships, which is breaking the bad, and then getting the moai mindset, which means our small community, our village. And then what comes next, of course, the world. And what I'm going to say about that is be unwell, get the dreamer's disease, and then dream and get delusional. And I'll leave it to all of your imaginations what you might hear about in each of those topics, but that's where we're going, because it really is not as hard as people think. Yes, it takes effort, it takes commitment to grow every day and to be focused on love. And I'm just thinking a friend of mine the other day said, you have a huge heart. And I had done something for that person, and I had connected him to something that he really wants professionally, and I happen to know a person that could do it. It's a pretty big thing, but of course, by accident, coincidence, a friend of mine knew somebody that did this exact thing that my other friend has been seeking to do for 10 years. So was it hard for me to connect the people? Absolutely not. It took me a couple of minutes to say, this friend of mine knows this person that is doing exactly what you want, and y'all want to be connected. And I did the email, and that was it. But, and also I think even online, I see so many people will read posts and not too many people will give hearts. And there actually is research that just came out recently about the impact of emojis, that they do have a huge impact on creating love and warmth. So I'm telling my couples to, discuss which emojis really make you feel loved and use those. But how long does it take to give a heart to somebody? An emoji, like 1/100th of a second, or a thumbs up, a like. It's not hard.
It's funny to say that, because I just posted the other day that I received my certificates in metaphysics, right? And I did not expect the outpour that came to congratulate me,
Wonderful.
but just that alone gives me the momentum to keep going, right? Because it did take work. It did take me studying, getting away from TV, social media, be alone and focus on what I really wanted, right? And that to get that acknowledgement, it's not like I needed it, but
Yes.
it actually is the hand that keeps giving to others that will keep us going. So when we do that heart emoji or recognize someone for their accomplishment,
Yes.
we actually get to feel the effect. How did you feel when he said you got a big heart?
Oh,
Think about that, right? It's like,
yeah, I got just such warmth. It was so nice
right,
because in my mind, well, my background in social work, I'm a social worker, all three
yes,
degrees. That's what we were trained to do. Social workers connect people in the community to things they need. We kind of have that MOI mindset as social
yes,
workers. So for me to connect colleagues and friends to, like, if I know something they really need, and then I know somebody that has that or does that, even like I probably would be a good matchmaker because I love
yeah,
putting people together with things that they're looking for. And
right,
it's not that hard to do, but it takes
right,
I always say, loving relationships are not a one-way street. They
right.
need
No, it's
to
not.
be a two-way street, two aspects: mutual sharing and mutual respect. No, three things: mutual sharing, mutual respect, and mutual support.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Not
Y-
take long to do that.
no, not at all. And we know at the core, we do know how to do it. We know how to give it, but we're, like you said, from the age of 0 to 5,
Mhm. Mhm.
we've gone through some traumas in our life,
Mhm.
or our ancestors have gone through some stuff that
Yes.
energetically we're carrying in our body.
Oh,
And when
yes.
I went into, we'll talk about this now, when I went into the energy work to
Mhm.
understand that, for example, I'm a practitioner on the emotion code, right? I'm certified in that. And I understand, Dr. Nelson describes how, first of all, we all know emotion is energy
Yeah.
in motion,
Mhm.
right? So when we do have an emotional impact, like 9/11, for example, when we watch that, the
Mhm.
energy that, runs through everything in this earth, right? Even through our body, was at a halt, right? Became at an abrupt stop.
Mhm.
And we
Mhm.
saw that airplane hit the
Yes.
building, right? Because we knew so many lives were impacted. But if you were down in the city and you actually were there, visual, being there, there's something that still you're holding in your body energetically, the emotion from that impact,
Mhm.
because some people don't want to go on an airplane anymore. They moved out of New York City,
Mhm.
right? So that emotional impact
Mhm.
created a decision that impacts their life forever.
Sure.
And so that example is, think of now if something happened in your life, in your own life. It's the same thing. Like
Mhm.
you will never, I remember, and I said this once before, when I was in Italy, I was born in Italy, and I was in a playpen, and this
Goodness.
big black dog came barking in my face, right?
Mhm.
And I was under 5.
Mhm.
That experience led me never to have animals, even when I moved out and I was on my own, never to have
Trauma.
animals,
Yeah.
right? Because I was traumatized from that.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
during my cancer journey, actually a few months after my surgery, my son brings home this little kitten. Her name is Penny. She was just like really tiny, right? And so I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? But I can't say no to my son. This is his
Yeah.
pet, and it's
Mhm.
so tiny. I'm going to have to deal with it. And I remember coming home from work and I'm like, oh, the smell, I can't take
Um,
it. Like everything just
oh
so, just, it
gosh.
wasn't me, right? I wasn't used to it. But then I started getting used to it.
Yeah. When you see the
Reason
love that a little
they
kid.
give, right? Yeah. Oh my God, that cat was for me for sure. Because now today she's with me. But
Mhm.
then I moved. And not too long ago, almost a year ago, went to my car. It was like 10 o'clock at night. It was dark. I had to go get something in my car. I opened the car door and I couldn't find what I wanted, but I shut the door and there's this big black dog staring at
Oh my
me.
gosh. Wow.
And I'm like,
That
no,
that
not this
no,
time. But for me to say that to that dog,
I think
If
that
I
was
didn't,
great for you, obviously, right?
but also the fact that I did the inner work to transform the stressful situation of the dog that came to me when I was young, and that playpen was the key ingredient for
Mhm.
me to open my voice to say to this new dog, 50 years later, to say, no, not this
Yep,
time,
that's
right?
amazing. Well, your trauma was healed. You empowered yourself to have a different outcome. No, not this time. I love that phrase.
Right.
People
So
very useful.
to even have that experience in my own mind and to experience that helped me to also transform other experiences. When I got that phone call, you have cancer, my
Mm,
world was coming to an end. I saw the worst in front of my
mm,
eyes.
mm,
And now
mm,
I listen to that voice that you have cancer, and I'm like, oh my goodness, if
mm,
it wasn't for that suffering, I would not be
mm,
here speaking with you right now,
mm,
because that cancer helped me to see life differently. It's precious. We're precious, right?
mm.
We are here to share our love, our joy.
Yeah.
And how did I lose that? It was
Mhm.
because of these experiences we have in our life. And
Yeah.
so you're back to love. I'm back to love. And we're here sharing our stories
Yeah.
because if we did it, anybody can do it. We're not special,
Absolutely. Yeah.
right? It's a
We all
choice.
have it within us, to generate new identities. I really believe in blossoming all lifelong. I feel every
Yes,
day is a new day to grow more, to be becoming, as Joseph Campbell says, you must be what you can be. And I really encourage people to really get in touch with that sense inside yourself of what gifts do you have? Why are you here? What is your soul meant to do here? Because I feel we all have something. The gifts can be very, very different. But what is it? If there's something nagging at you, that even if you say, you know what, I'm going to give that up, and it keeps coming back, think about, what are you here to do? We often hear the question, well, what is the purpose of life anyway? And I think
right.
this is such a beautiful aspect of life, this dimension that we're living in. And there's so much beauty that we can create out of it, and love that we can create out of it. With your experience very young with the trauma of the big black dog, I'll share a little bit of my own story. It is the heart of my other keynote, which is called Grab Your Life. And why I came to that was, I'm not supposed to be here. I was born 2 months premature, and it was because my godmother's baby, and she and my mother were very close. Her baby died on the day that I was born, and I was not supposed to be born that day, and I was not supposed to survive. And the other baby was a big, strong baby, already a year old, and he died and I didn't. And because of that, my mother always said to me, you survived for a reason, so you better do something great with your life. And I'm sure that got to me very young, and I'm sure
Sure.
that's in my unconscious. And from very young, I had a sense of being connected to something, and just a sense of knowing of something is developing in me that I need to follow.
Yes.
I need to follow the gifts, and I'm supposed to do something with this, um, to make the world a better place. And there's something inside of me that, I can't not do. I think when you find
Right.
something, somewhere to put love, or someone to put love towards, I say, pour love out wherever you feel you're supposed to.
Right.
Um, and when you find that, when you get to the point of you can't not do that thing, then I think you found your purpose for being here and your passion. And it all
Right.
does come back to love. It's so simple.
And it's not for us to keep, right? Because what brings us joy is when we share what that love is that we love to do, right? What is it that we love to do? And so to understand that your whatever gifts you want to express. And that's the other thing is like, I don't think many of us, I know I didn't express what I wanted to do. So I did a lot of things. You know, I have a master's in banking, a master's in education, a real estate license, an
Oh
esthetician
my
license. I kept going. Right. But I love to serve, right? At the core of all of that is serving. And, but we are always trying to seek what is it that brings us the most joy, which, you know, for me, being a special education teacher, teaching kids with autism at the time, I mean, that really brought me joy. I mean, more joy and compassion that I can even, you know, fathom. And that, you know, and you feel it and you know that you're in the right place, right? But, you know, God had other plans for me. And here I am, you know, doing the same thing in a different way. But you're absolutely right, is when you find it and you're giving it, then you are really living your true self. That's what we call living your true self. So if we think of humanity as one living system, because I do believe that we are all one, we're all connected, right? How can we as individuals, like, we know we are contributing to the collective if we are considered that we are connected. Return back to love, return to love that transcends religion, politics, culture. Like, getting back to that is ultimately what we need to do, because we're all here eventually to take each other home. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. Oh gosh, you know, I know this is a hard point, but with all that's going on in the world right now, and yes, definitely there is evil, and there are evil people doing horrible things. This is going to be hard to hear, but I feel like at some point there has to be like a thank you to that experience, because I think it's revealing what we're not supposed to be. And I think if we just try to, that's why I said, flip our script and say, instead of just getting stuck on, well, this is really horrible and we can't do anything about it, this is showing us what we're never supposed to be. And unfortunately, it's coming through painful experiences, but we know that in human nature, big change comes from painful experiences, not from pleasure. If everything was wonderful, I'm wondering how motivated anybody would be to do anything great. Now, you know, there's something that we have to counteract. So I say, let's use this time, this era in the world, as a great opportunity to really turn this on its head and say, okay, now we've looked at in the face everything we're not supposed to be. And then what can we create? You know, how there's so many people doing so many wonderful, loving things, you know, in the face of ugliness and evil. And not to be political, but I'm watching the people in Portland in their costumes, you know, playing music in front of the headquarters of the, you know, police or ICE, you know, and they're coming with humor and they're coming with music, and they're turning this on its head, which I think it's an example of what, you know, we should be trying to turn this on its head and pouring out more love in whatever way you can, whether, and it could be small things. It can be, you know, not everybody has to do what you and I are doing. I always have the belief, like, if I smile at the cashier at the grocery store and ask her how her day is going, or at McDonald's, do you know their face lights up?
Of course.
I think in that moment, I've hopefully passed some love along.
And you know, I love what you just said. And I'm going to take that from, like, you know, a global vision to like an individual vision.
Yes.
Just from my experience alone, going through a cancer journey and suffering, I know that's not the way life should be. right?
Yes.
It was requesting me to flip the script
Mm-hmm.
and change my life
Mm-hmm.
if I wanted to continue living on this earth.
Yes.
So to your point exactly, it it happens individually and then it happens collectively,
Yes.
right? So when we're, looking for change, we must understand at the core, it begins with each and every one of us. We
Yeah.
cannot look at the president. We cannot look at the
Right.
church. I'm sorry. We cannot look at anything outside of us. We have to turn inward,
Mm-hmm.
and no one tells us that.
Mm-hmm.
We all see social media giving us a different message, but we need to really open our eyes to understand that change begins with each
Yeah.
heart,
As you
one
said,
heart at a
and
time.
Mirror, Michael Jackson's song. I love people to listen to that. And I also like people to go back and read about the Greeks, the 6 aspects of love from the Greek culture. And they talk about, there's at least 6 or 7 aspects of love. Everything from self-love to
Yes.
friendship, brotherly love. Then there's lust. Then there's, more committed love. And then there's love of community. There's agape
Yes.
love. And we think of like, oh, well, if I don't have a partner, I don't have this or I don't have that, then I don't have love or I'm not loved. And really, it's the opportunities are all around us.
Yes.
Whether it's you're kind to a friend or you are part of a community, some kind of group that you share something and you are uh, experiencing love in that group. I have a colleague who does, it's called grief yoga, but it's actually, there's a component of laughter to it as well.
Yes.
And he's changing the culture of grief, of helping people to let go of grieving and fear
Right.
and then turning it into joy and laughter. And so that's one group that I'm part of where
Sure.
we can spread that around in some way.
Absolutely.
So
Well,
it's
I'm
here.
sorry, we're gonna that's right. It's all here. It's, how bad do we want it, right? And I know you and I want it really bad because
Yes.
it's gonna ripple out to make this world a better place.
So,
Any final notes on little nugget you want to leave the audience with?
oh, yes, I'll just say maybe a quote or two. One of my favorites is first of all, the greater the love that is given, the greater the love that remains.
Beautiful.
And a nice quote from Tony Robbins, who said, give more than you ever imagined you could have. Give love, because in so doing that, you will never have to wonder about getting.
Oh, so
Well,
wonderful. This is what it means to really be in a place of
yeah.
um, understanding we're all one, right? So what a beautiful way to end the show. And if people want to contact you, Dr. Deborah?
Yes. So they could go to my website, www.thedrdeb.com, THEDRDEB, all one word, or also my email, debdcnyc@aol.com. And I'm also on social media on Facebook under Debra Castaldo and Dr. Debra Castaldo, and Instagram and TikTok and LinkedIn. Also, the Dr. Deb, you can find me there.
Beautiful. And the final words about why people should join us at the summit?
Oh my goodness. Where do I begin?
You have a minute left.
I only know Giovanna a week, I think. And every day there is something new that develops, another
Yeah.
fantastic speaker and another. I'm looking at, there's so much that's going to happen at the summit, from your health care, your physical care, to your spiritual care, to your financial
Absolutely.
well-being, and all the wellness aspects that you can imagine. I just think it's already, I can feel the energy. I
It's going to be beautiful.
shift just in knowing you and getting ready for the summit. And I'm going to bring my best to bring you the Return to Love blueprint that I have, and
Love it.
hope and possibilities. And I think just don't miss it. It's one day. And I think, from what I know from all the conferences I go to, the price is really, really reasonable. I'm going to be a sales pitch here. Speakers are just fantastic. I know.
And I set up a GoFundMe account because of people who cannot join, and they want to contribute, because at the end of the day, I truly believe this is our world. This is our earth. And if we can spread the love, whichever way that can help to bring this summit alive, I invite everyone. The invitation's out there for everyone, no matter where you live around the world. So thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Until next time, I'm your host, Giovanna Tartarone. This is Spark and Change with Gigi.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Me.
Thank you, Dr. Debbie. Talk to you soon.
Thank you for joining me on Sparking Change with Gigi. I hope that our episode today has ignited a spark within you to create positive change in your own life and in the world around you. To learn more about how you can become a guest or supporter, head over to sparkingchangenow.com. If you enjoyed today's episode, please consider subscribing, sharing, and leaving a review. Your feedback is incredibly valuable to me, and it helps me to continue producing content that sparks change in each of us and the world. You can find us on various platforms, including Google Play Store, Apple App Store, YouTube, Facebook, Roku, Android TV, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. Thank you again for watching, and I look forward to having you join me again next week on Sparking Change with Gigi.